Okay, so it's been a while since the last video because I had some stuff going on since I actually do have a life.
Stop the cap.
Crazy, I know, but I'm back now, so you can step back from that ledge. Everything's going to be fine, I promise.
Oh my god!
Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2, or as the community likes to call it, Chadhammer 40k, Sigma Marine 2. If you happen to be a normal human being and you have no idea what I just said, I'll let Charlie simplify it for you.
I was filled with so much testosterone I almost fucked my own ass.
The game has 50 trophies including its platinum and took me around 56 hours to do. That's 6 hours more than the guide predicted, and I'll be real, that's because I spent a ludicrous amount of time changing the color of my Space Marine in the online portion of the game. Which leads me to how I broke this platinum up into stages. Stage 1 was to play the story and mark every enemy I come across and perform executions every chance I get. Stage 2 was the PvP, and Stage 3 was the online co-op missions, which is also the most grindy part of the platinum. After finishing all the online co-op trophies, I would move on to getting all the collectibles in Stage 4 and clean up the remaining miscellaneous trophies in Stage 5. The lore of Warhammer 40k goes insanely deep, but essentially humanity is constantly at war with various factions across the universe, most notably against traitors, commonly referred to as the heretics, who betrayed the Emperor of Mankind and sided with the Chaos Gods of the war. In Space Marine 2, you play as Lieutenant Titus, who is, you guessed it, a Space Marine. Space Marines are the Emperor's most elite soldiers created using parts of the Emperor's own DNA for the sole purpose of f***ing up aliens.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better.
At the start of Space Marine 2, Titus is serving in the Death Watch as penance after being accused of heresy at the end of the first Space Marine game. This clearly wasn't true, but accusations of heresy are like accusations of sexual harassment in the real world. Even if you're innocent, you'll be treated like you're guilty. His ship gets swarmed by Tyranids and he ends up falling out and plummeting to the ground. He survives though because Space Marines are literally built different, and proceeds on with his mission to launch a virus bomb to kill the Tyranids invading the planet. Titus makes his way to the orbital launcher and loads the virus bomb. With the bomb loaded, Titus needs to defend the launcher while it prepares to shoot the bomb into low orbit. And when I say defend, I mean defend, because just look at this shit. Eventually the bomb does go off, killing most but not all of the Tyranids. One of the survivors being this Carniflex, who took that virus bomb business personally and put a hole in Titus's chest to even the score. He overreacted a bit if you ask me, but whatever. So Titus dies, but then they realized he's the guy on the cover of the game, so he's brought back to life as a Primaris Space Marine, which is basically just an upgraded Space Marine, and I get my first trophy on the board. Titus is reinstated with the Ultramarines, which is where he was serving the Emperor before he was accused of heresy a century ago, because nothing says I'm not a traitor like serving out your punishment for 100 years and still dying for the Emperor. We meet our captain Akaran and our new squad mates Chiron and Gadriel. Gadriel was a little bitch though, second-guessing Titus's every decision and prying about his mysterious past. With the squad assembled, we set out on our next mission, where we are tasked with defending the planet's anti-air defenses until the planet has been evacuated. On my way to the cannon, I unexpectedly pop my second trophy for killing 100 enemies with environmental hazards. Not long after that, I find my first collectible and make my way towards the anti-air cannon. We defend the cannon while it charges up, and I somehow manage to stay alive until we can shoot down the Tyranid fleet, giving me another trophy. In our next mission, we had to assist in retrieving this guy Nozik's research because he refuses to evacuate without it. I suspect he has a stash of feed picks in there too, because he's extremely stubborn about not leaving. We're told that several squads have gone missing trying to get there, and it doesn't take long to discover why. Squads are going missing because there's a lictor prowling the area. Lictors are extremely dangerous and can go completely invisible, and I really do mean completely, which makes them pretty terrifying. But I managed to knock it down before it could lunge at me and get a trophy as a reward. After taking care of the lictor, we continue with our mission and find Nozik's research. We send it to him and leave the facility only to see the ship transporting Nozik fall out of the sky. We treat ourselves to some jetpacks and rush towards the crash site, but by the time we get there, everyone's been slaughtered by the forces of chaos. The dude died trying to recover his feed picks, and seeing as his research was still there and his feed picks weren't, I have to assume they were premium quality. I'm pretty bummed I didn't get to see them, but getting that mission's trophy cheered me up a bit, I guess. Back on our battle barge, Titus tells Captain Akaran about the Chaos Presence and asks him what Nozik was working on that was so important. Akaran tells him that Project Aurora is a sort of weapon which is highly classified, and now that Nozik is dead, the only person capable of continuing his work is his apprentice Morias Luz, who is stuck on a planet being invaded by Tyranids.
Of course.
Before we can find Luz, we need to get to a thing called a cogitator, which will help us to track down Luz. On our journey, Titus gets a rematch against the Carnifex, and this time Titus's death isn't scripted, so the Carnifex goes down no problem. We make it to the Cogitator and find out where Luz is, but before setting off to find him, Titus digs a little deeper into the classified files to see what Project Aurora is all about. Something Gadriel isn't thrilled about, might I add. Titus discovers that Project Aurora involves the reconstruction of a dangerous artifact that he destroyed back in the first game. Unsurprisingly, Titus isn't all smiles about what he discovers and attempts to locate the artifact, but is interrupted when the facility is attacked. We defend the facility's reactor and get the Furious Retribution trophy, which was for getting 100 kills while using Titus's ability, and after defending the reactor, I get the trophy for completing the mission. Titus tries to convince Akaran that Project Aurora is extremely dangerous and must be stopped, to which Akaran replies, "Shut up!" Titus, not being a heretic, does exactly that and departs to find Luz. On our way to Luz, we come across a squad of Astra Militarum soldiers, aka just normal soldiers, aka the Emperor's cannon fodder. This turns out to be an ambush and we come face to face with the heretics. They definitely chose the wrong side though, because they get absolutely annihilated. As we get closer to Luz, Chiron gets overwhelmed by his hatred for the heretics and rushes in on his own to kill them. When we regroup, Titus scolds him for acting so recklessly and reminds him that his duty is to the Emperor and that he will die when and where the Emperor chooses. Honestly, how did anyone believe that Titus was a heretic? He's like the most loyal dude to ever exist. Near the end of the mission, I remember that there's a trophy for marking every enemy type in the game. Now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was never a tutorial on how to mark enemies in the campaign. So I did a quick Google search and started marking enemies from that point on. We rescue Luz and escort him back to the battle barge, but during transit, Titus confronts Luz about them meddling with the dangerous artifact, which leads to Luz mentioning that he's heard of Titus. He recalls that a Captain Titus died over a century ago with the artifact in his hands and states that not even a space marine could survive that much raw power. This only fans the flames of Gadriel's suspicion even further, making him even more annoying. To be fair, Titus was acting very suspiciously, but that mission concludes and I get another trophy. Having confirmed the heretic threat, our next task is to warn our chapter master, Lord Calgar. Nothing is ever easy, of course, so we can't just link up on a video call and tell him what's up, so we need to clear away to the relay station before we can get the message through. Long story short, we make it to the relay and this lady who is supposed to pass on our message starts yelling that Titus is a heretic. We've been edging Gadriel's suspicion boner for some time now, so he immediately attacks Titus and tries to kill him. Fortunately, Chiron doesn't trust women and puts a bullet in her, revealing that she was the puppet of a heretic sorcerer. There's a boss fight, but we absolutely rinse him, so he runs away like your dad when you were 9 years old. Titus confronts Gadriel and tells him that he understands his actions, but his suspicions need to end here. And thank the Emperor, Gadriel seems to get the message loud and clear, and I get that mission's trophy. The chaplain wants to see us after hearing that Gadriel almost offed Titus and warns us that he'll team wipe us and send all three of us to the gulag if he senses even a flicker of corruption. He gave me a trophy with a Harry Potter reference in it though.
Why is it, when something happens, it is always you three?
Which made it difficult to take him too seriously. The entire company of Ultramarines prepare for an assault on the heretics, and we see a super wholesome moment where Titus, Gadriel and Chiron finally trust each other and become real friends. We skydive through the combat zone, dodging debris and ships on the way down to the planet's surface. There's a variety of awesome melee weapons in the game, but this mission was my first chance to use the Thunder Hammer, and this thing kicks some serious ass. In this mission, we find Luz still tinkering with the artifact, trying to initiate Project Aurora. We try to talk him out of it, but he refuses to stop his work as he believes it will help them. He believes that Project Aurora will prevent the Chaos Forces of existing in their world. It's to absolutely no one's surprise that he was completely wrong. It's revealed that he was bamboozled and that his and Nozik's research was based on lies fabricated by the forces of chaos. The sorcerer kills Luz and initiates a full-scale chaos invasion, and I get that mission's trophy. At this stage, things are looking dire for the Ultramarines because of this giant pillar in the background bringing in endless reinforcements of Chaos Marines. The pillar is seemingly invulnerable against everything we can throw at it, so our plan is to get close to the pillar and see if we can find a weakness which eventually leads to this piece of absolute cinema. Titus slams the standard into the ground and everyone takes a stand against overwhelming waves of chaos. Then out of nowhere, Chapter Master Calgar rocks up and reduces the chaos population in the immediate vicinity to 0. Gadriel believes that Aurora can be stopped by inverting these obelisks, so we rally the troops and start working our way to the first obelisk when we're greeted by this enormous bird thing in the distance. We get to this console-looking thing and Gadriel flips the smaller replica of the obelisk, which begins the process of closing the reinforcement portal. There are 3 more of these obelisks and we get to work on inverting them as well. Right before we reach the final obelisk, we see this dreadnought give a Helldrake a big dose of fuck off. Then Chiron flips the last obelisk and we make our final push, but the giant bird slams the ground and freezes everything in place. Titus and his squad take cover to avoid the shockwave and follow Calgar into the rift. If you're wondering how Calgar can still move, simply put, he's him. We rush into the abyss and pop another trophy. In the abyss we have a final battle against the heretic sorcerer. When he starts losing, he attempts to confuse us with an illusion, but conveniently left this giant beam of light for us to walk towards. This leads to the typical scene where the hero looks like he's about to fail, but unlike the typical hero scene, there are no cliché flashbacks or motivational speeches saying stuff like,
"Do it for your family!"
No, Calgar just orders Titus to get up, and Titus, being no heretic, does exactly that and flips the final obelisk for real this time, killing the sorcerer and winning the battle. Titus regains consciousness and has the most American hero moment I've ever seen in my entire life. Titus finally gets recognition for his devotion and is given his next task. Nothing but war, remember? Before leaving, the chaplain wants to speak to him again, and at this point I think he's just a professional hater because he basically tells Titus that he'll still be watching him for any signs of corruption. Then it is revealed that the chaplain is in fact a dude named Leandros, the same Leandros who accused Titus of heresy in the first game, and with that I get the final story trophy. On to stage 2, which was all the PvP trophies, and I must admit I had way more fun in this stage than I expected and ended up getting all the PvP trophies in a single sitting. Nothing too fancy here, so I'll keep it short.
Just like my penis.
I got trophies for going on a 5 kill streak and for winning a match, 3 trophies for playing 10 matches in the 3 different game modes, and another trophy for winning 1 match with each of the 6 classes. Now for stage 3, which was by far the most grindy part of the entire platinum, the operations. Operations are 3-player co-op missions that run parallel with the main campaign. They're basically the missions that other Ultramarine squads completed throughout the main campaign, and there are 6 of them. This was also the stage where I couldn't stop giving my Space Marine a new paint job every 5 minutes, but at least I looked cool when I got the Art of Dismemberment trophy for performing 50 unique finishes. I got that trophy close to the end of the first operation, and after completing it I got another. The second mission's objective was to take down a Hive Tyrant, which I think might have been my favorite operation out of the bunch because it just never got old seeing this bridge blow up and collapse onto him. It doesn't die there though, so we keep running after it until it has nowhere to go and I loot my next trophy off its corpse. The third operation wasn't as interesting, but it gets bonus points for the cool aesthetic at the finish line. During the next operation I got this trophy for killing 5 enemies while they tried to call for reinforcements and then continued through the mission. The objective in this operation was to jumpstart this old battle barge so it could ram into this chaos crystal looking thing in the main campaign. See what I mean when I say the operations run parallel with the main campaign? But after doing that, I get that operations trophy. The next operation had us take down a Helldrake, but before doing that I had to make sure to mark it as it was the last enemy needed for the Purge Them All trophy. We proceeded to slay the Helldrake and complete the mission for another trophy. The 6th and final mission had us prep a giant bomb and send it into this hive city for the last mission related trophy. Next, I went for all the class specific trophies, which just had me get kills in a variety of different ways using the different classes. First up was the Vanguard, which required me to perform 100 gun strikes. I decided to do the heavy class next, and while working on it I got a few of the other combat trophies. I killed 1,000 Tyranids in operations, shot a Ravener off my squad mate after he got grabbed, and killed a Sorcerer before he could get a revive. A short while later, the Immovable Object trophy popped for getting 500 kills while in heavy stance. The Tactical class was next, and I just had to get 25 kills with each of the primary weapons available, which was super easy, so that's nice. The Sniper's trophy was even easier because all I had to do was get 250 headshots, which was super easy to do with an SMG. Along the way I also got a trophy for finding 200 pickups in operations. These were typically stuff like ammo boxes and medkits. 2 combat trophies followed for perfect parrying this dickhead's combo, which took a few tries, and for killing 1,000 Chaos Servants in operations. I took a little detour to Los Santos Customs and messed around with paint jobs again before I set out for the Assault Classes trophy, which tasked me with hitting 500 enemies with Ground Pound, which was by far the most satisfying class related trophy. For the Bulwark I just needed to get 100 kills with 3 different melee weapons, so nothing crazy there. I also got the Bespoke trophy for customizing a full set of armor, so looks like constantly altering my appearance finally paid off. The next trophy actually had me worried, I won't lie. I had to complete an operation on the maximum difficulty, which is called Ruthless. The reason I was worried about it was because my friends weren't playing the game often enough to be ready for Ruthless difficulty. Filthy casuals, I tell you. So I would have to rely on getting decent teammates through matchmaking. Turns out I didn't need to worry at all because everyone matchmaking on Ruthless difficulty seems to know exactly what they're doing, and I low-key got carried through my first completion. I forgot to mention it earlier, but after I did all the class-related trophies, I decided to main the Vanguard class for the simple reason that it took the longest to get his class-related trophy, resulting in my Vanguard being the highest level out of all my classes. The reason that's relevant is because there's a trophy for reaching max level with any class. Thankfully, I only had to do that for one class and not for all of them, because even doing one took some serious time investment. Like, I'm talking around 20 hours, so enjoy seeing 20 hours of grinding pop up for less than 2 seconds. Then I just had to get a ranged weapon and a melee weapon to max level, and that marked the end of stage 3. On to everyone's favorite part of any platinum trophy, the collectibles. This actually wasn't that bad because I did my best to find most of the collectibles while playing through the main campaign and the operations, so I only had a few of them missing. Chapter Select made cleaning up a bit easier, but with that said, if the collectible you needed is at the end of the mission, you basically have to play the entire mission again. So if you're thinking of getting Space Marine 2's Platinum, I suggest you try and find as many of them as you can in your first playthrough to save yourself some time. Now for the final stretch, but before I get to the Platinum, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to see more videos like this one. By the time I got to stage 5, I only had 3 trophies left, 2 of which were for killing an absurd number of enemies in total. Keep in mind that I'd played the game for around 52 hours at this point, and have a look at my progress towards these 2 trophies. The 20,000 kills seems like a reasonable trophy, and it took me about 20 minutes of farming a specific checkpoint to get. Yes, it's a lot of kills, and yes, you'll have to play the game a lot, but at least you can get that trophy naturally by playing the game as intended. That's to say you've played the campaign and leveled several characters in the operations mode, but whoever put this 41,000 kills trophy in the game needs to be investigated for heresy. It took me 3 hours to farm the 21,000 kills I still needed. I tried 2 different methods to see which would be quicker. The one way was to load up the checkpoint and throw grenades at the hordes until I ran out of grenades and then reload the checkpoint. Rinse and repeat. The other way was to never reload the checkpoint and just endlessly swing my chainsword around, which was the method I ended up using to complete the trophy. I started at 9 PM and finished just after midnight. Needless to say, my brain was numb at that point. I had one final trophy left, and I'm so happy I left this one for last because I needed the morale boost. I loaded up the mission and swapped slicing my sword through endless enemies for bashing my head through floating debris for the my face is my shield trophy, and after that, the platinum. Space Marine 2's Platinum ended up taking a little bit of time, but I really don't mind that since the game is genuinely just good fun. The long grind in operations did sometimes feel repetitive due to there only being 6 missions when I did it, but it never took away from the joy of just ripping stuff in half for hours on end. It has to be said though that farming for those 41,000 kills did take away from an otherwise very fun Platinum, and because of that, Space Marine 2 gets a score of 80% on the mental health bar. Some tedious bits in there, but overall a joy to Platinum. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.